we're fascinated by it, and that's another piece behind that. But I think there's a third piece as well, and that is that go back a few weeks in the Parashas Vayesh, I believe, where the Torah tells us that Reuven, when he collected these flowers for his mother, right? Mm-hmm. So the Torah goes out his way, so he took it from Min HaSadeh. Rashi says he took it from a field of Hefker, which means no man's land. Lahagid Shvachan Shalavas, to sing the praise of the tribes, or in this case Reuven. Shalom Gazal, he didn't steal from anybody's property, he made sure to take the flowers from no man's land. Now, it sounds nice, but you think about it. How many people here would want to have on their tombstone, this was a special man, he never stole from anybody? Does that sound like such a great thing to praise Reuven? You know, Reuven's great thing was, he didn't steal flowers, he didn't go to somebody's property and steal. And the answer is, it is a great praise. Why? Because, see, all of us know stealing is wrong. And that's why none of us spend any time thinking about what stealing is. And because we don't spend any time thinking about it, we don't realize how many times we might be stealing in ways that we don't think are really stealing. First of all, why are you stealing wrong? Well, we talked about my rights to money and extension. If you asked Abraham, who was the paradigm of kindness, it's the opposite of kindness, to invade someone's space and grab something from them. If you asked Yitzchak, it's about din, law, what do you mean? It's not yours. You're violating the law. If you ask Yaakov, it's about truth. It's not honestly yours. It's not right. So there are many ways to kind of understand why stealing is wrong, certainly. But if you don't spend time thinking about it, then we really miss. For instance, Rousseau Salanter was once walking somebody into a large building, and the fellow held the door open for Rousseau to walk in. Rousseau said, no, after you. And the fellow said, no, you have to, Rousseau. And Rousseau strode right in. And the fellow's kind of taken aback. He was a little surprised, like, I thought you played this game a little bit longer, right? You should. So I said, no, we can't do that. He said, what do you mean? He says, because this hallway here is being heated up. When we open the door and we're playing this game, we're letting cold air in. That's called stealing. Now, you and I would never think about that, right? He said, that's called stealing. Rizalanta once called out a student. They were having an issue, and it seemed, I don't know exactly how it played out. I was laid out, but there was a window. There was only one window in the shul that fresh air came out of. And this guy decided, for whatever reason, to daven Shemon Esrei right in front of the window. So something went over in the middle of a Shemon Esrei. He said, you have to move now, you're a thief. Because people are counting on this fresh air, you're a thief. And he insisted he move in the middle of Shemon Esrei. So you're kind of.
So it's really about respect, isn't it?
No, that's called, it's not, it's called stealing.
But stealing, what Reuven did, his honor was that he respected even those people he didn't know.
Yes, but I certainly think it's about respect. But I'm saying it's everything. But it's becoming so aware how often we can invade someone's space, and we're not even think it's not. What do you mean, right? We don't think about how we're invading. So it still becomes that training ground or exercise in really developing sensitivity to all those places where we might be invading someone's space in a way that we don't consider anything wrong. But the Torah says no. Be sensitive. Be aware of that. And that's really what Lusigdov is. So it's certainly. All right, so Lusigdov takes it all the way from kidnapping, which is a crime against people, which tells us all people's crimes against all thieving, to regular stealing, which we all know, and we understand why that's wrong. But we have to think about things that we don't think about, like Ruby, that spend time thinking about it. There are some exceptions, by the way. In general, can you borrow something from somebody with the intent to return it? Of course not.
Of course not.
I'll give you an example. How about this one? You walk into a hotel. Right now, you open the fridge; it's totally well stocked. You buy one of those sodas; it costs you like $10 at least, right? Right. We did this already.
Right. We went through this last week.
Right. Okay. So that's called borrowing with this intent of returning. I can't take that Coke and put another one instead. You can't do that, right? That's called stealing. Right? Maybe you don't think that way. People think, if I borrow it, I'm going to replace it.
Well, that really wasn't borrowing because you weren't replacing that same item.
Let's say I borrow your car and I put it back to your pocket spot 2 minutes later. Let's assume there's no gas. It works on electricity. Right, okay? It's called stealing. Borrowing with the intent of return is called stealing. Most people might not think
you
that
mean
way.
Borrowing without permission to borrow?
Yes, of course.
Right, okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Borrow without permission to borrow with the intent of returning the exact same item with no less wear and tear is called stealing. There are some exceptions, by the way. Anybody know exceptions for that?
Using someone's sitter.
Using a sitter,
That's the one to get
safer,
started.
right? Because there's an assumption that people would be privileged to have you use their thing for a mitzvah, right? But those are the exceptions to the rule. But other than that, that's not the case. Okay, so we have, and I'll just bring down one more case of talk about stealing for a second, and understand how stealing can be seen on many, many levels. Fast forward, Parashat Teruma actually has a little to do with Purim. It has to do with the fact that the Torah tells us, it gives us a prohibition. You can't cheat on your weights. That's what it says. Which doesn't mean you tell everybody you weigh 130 pounds when you're 150 pounds. That what kind of stealing, cheating weights? It means that when you have these balance scales, right? You can't tell them you can't say it's a 5-pound weight. It's only a 400-pound weight. You're selling them 4 pounds of pastrami. It's supposed to be 5 pounds. Right. Okay. And right after that, it talks about Amalek attacking the Jewish people. Parashat Teruma. So the Medrash says, oh, what's the connection? Very obvious. If you cheat on your weights, Amalek will attack you. Not so obvious, right? What does that mean, right? How do you connect? Medrash connects, oh yeah, you cheat on your weights. What does that mean, right? And second of all, the Jews didn't even have weights in the desert. They didn't do commerce in the desert. Everything was provided for them, right? What does that really mean? So first of all, what's the connection? And number two is they didn't even cheat on weights in the desert. They didn't have that opportunity. They didn't have commerce there. What does that really mean? In fact, it says in another Gemara,
retribution.
Gemara says that if you cheat on your weights, it's worse than Avodah Zarah. Worse than Avodah Zarah. And what does that mean? Because we know Avodah Zarah, you can't get worse than that, right? What does that really mean? Right? So I want to share with you a beautiful insight what that means, and we'll get a sense of different modes of stealing. Okay. Steal. Why does a person steal? So we talked about why a person steals. So let's say a guy is walking down the street and he sees the craziest thing. It makes no sense. It's a jewelry store. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. There's not a person in sight. The jewelry store door is left wide open. And it's obvious that the alarm is not on for whatever reason. Runs in and grabs twice a bunch of diamonds. He stole, right? Okay, that's stealing. What happens? Let's talk about the case of cheating in your weights. You're a deli owner, right? And you tell everybody that this is 5 pounds salami, and it's really only giving everybody 400 pounds salami. You also stole.
That's worse.
Which is worse?
Well, the weights is
Weight's
way
worse?
Way worse.
Is it worse?
They're both sins.
Both sins. But what, does anybody think anyone's worse than the other?
Yeah, I think the weights.
Salami?
Yeah,
Because you want 5 pounds salami. That's
right. And
you come for Shabbos, you're missing 400 pounds
It's even
salami.
worse than that.
Right. Right.
Yeah, no.
Why?
Clearly, well, it's deception.
Deception.
Like the pig.
Well, but okay, but when you
You're
steal,
pretending to be honest, but not only are you stealing, but you're
be
saying.
deceptive. Okay, I hear that. Although every act of stealing is being deceitful.
You go into the jewelry
dishonest.
store and you take it. I mean, you had an opportunity. You took it. It was wrong. Okay, but you're not. If you then turned around and said, "Oh, that was the guy who took it, not me," then that would come closer, maybe. But I mean, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in? Is anyone worse than the other? The stealing of diamonds was an impulse steal. Let me back it up. If I asked you, why doesn't somebody keep Shabbos? Rabbi, why doesn't keep Shabbos? A million reasons. He doesn't believe in the Torah, or he loves going to the beach and he can't resist, or right? It could be a million reasons. It's true. There are different motives. Well, there are different motives to steal also. When you swipe those diamonds, and it's not premeditated, it's simply a temptation that you simply cannot overcome. It's called type. It's a temptation. A premeditated act of stealing, not only is deception. What you're really saying is, I can get away with this because no one's going to catch me, which means you're not believing that he's watching. It's not only a sin against the person, but right, the guy who stole the diamonds, he couldn't even believe that he believes in God at the time. He just couldn't resist. But sometimes people, their temptation is so great, they know it's wrong and they can't help themselves. They know it's wrong, they can't help themselves. When you're stealing 3 salami slices at a time, it's not impulse. It's not, I couldn't help myself, I had to steal these 3 extra cents. It's not impulse at all. It's the idea that, I can get away with this, right? And and I don't believe that there's a day of reckoning or that, right, and that is a lack of faith in a sense. You don't believe there's Hakadosh Baruch Hu, that everything has its proper purpose, and you, right. So in a sense, when they say that's worse than idolatry, it is because changing weights is a hidden way of saying, or it doesn't say worse. I think it says it's what. I'm sorry, it says worse than adultery. Sorry, it says it's worse than adultery. It's worse than adultery because it's like idolatry. It's worse than adultery. Adultery is a temptation, right? And you know what? God is much more forgiving for somebody who just simply was tempted than somebody who deliberately says, "I know and I don't care." Right? There's much difference. So it's worse than it's worse than adultery because adultery is a temptation, in the general sense. This, however, is an act of defiance. Right? And it says, I don't care that God's watching, or I don't believe that God's watching. And that becomes, so let's go back to the case of Amalek, and we'll end this perm thought as well. The Jews didn't have weights in the desert, that's true. But they expressed the same thing without the weights. Right before Amalek attacked them, you know what the Jews said? Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im ayin. Is there a God amongst us or not? That's the big question. Is God really living amongst us or not? That's the exact same thing as chaining your weights. Is God really amongst me now, watching me chain my weights? And that's when Amalek attacks. What does that mean? Why does Amalek attack? As soon as you express this doubt, is there really God watching the world? Amalek seizes that opportunity to amplify and blow that up. Amalek, we all know, he mentioned Amalek is the same numerical value as Suffolk. He thrives in that world of, who knows? Who says it's wrong? How do you know it's really God watching, right? He thrives on this idea of this, is you don't know for sure, right? And he makes a living on that. That's what he's all about. So when they said, Hayeshem b'kirbeinu, Amalek attacks is now they're weak, expressing it, and I'm going to fan those flames. So yes, it is the same thing as chaining your weights. It's the exact same thing as chaining your weights. And that's what really Purim was all about. Obviously, when the Jews finally discovered that even when they couldn't see God, they could sense God's presence. That ultimately is the opposite of the Amaleks of the world, who try to create confusion and say there is no such thing as an absolute. You can't know for sure. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe God's watching, maybe God's not watching. And that's really where Amalek comes in. But we believe in the world of absolutes. We do believe that we can have absolutes. Amalek lives in a world of Suffolk. There's no such thing as anything that we know for sure. The truth is that without absolutes, we're finished. Really, we have to believe in an absolute on some level. And that's where Amalek came in to kind of blow that up out of the water, so to speak. But again, coming full circle, so we're talking about Geneva, we're talking about money. So certainly this, again, brings on the point that there's stealing, different kinds of stealing. There's an impulse steal, which a person has to work out. But sometimes stealing is even worse when it's not an impulse thing, but it's you don't believe. And that's the guy on the counter pulling it off. It might have been an impulse thing. Maybe yes, I don't know. But if it's not an impulse thing, it's a 50-cent lighter, what he's really saying is, now if you knew the camera was there, he would have done it.
Right.
If you knew God was there, he would have done it, right? But that's the thing. When the camera's there, someone's watching. Yeah. But when we don't believe that God's there, God should have the same impact. The Ayin Raya, that should have the same impact. And that's really what the Jews have to learn over the story of Purim. We'll stop and we'll pick it up next time.